Let's be honest for a second. At this point, we've seen so many Robin Hood movies that it's hard to get excited about another one. Every few years, Hollywood brings the character back, gives him a new look, a new story, and hopes audiences will care. Most of the time, it doesn't really work. So when I first heard about the death of Robin Hood, I wasn't sure what to expect. But then I found out what the movie was actually trying to do. And suddenly it became a lot more interesting. Because this isn't another Robin Hood origin story. It's not about how he became a legend. It's not about stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. And it's definitely not a big action adventure. Instead, this movie asks a simple question. What happens when the legend is over? What happens when Robin Hood gets older? When the battles are behind him? When the victories don't matter anymore? And when all he has left are the choices he made throughout his life? That's the idea behind the death of Robin Hood. And honestly, it's probably the most interesting direction this character has taken in years. The first thing that stands out is Hugh Jackman. Now, Hugh Jackman playing a legendary character already sounds like a great casting choice. But what makes his performance work is that he doesn't try to play Robin Hood as an invincible hero. This version feels human. He feels tired. He feels broken in places. And sometimes he looks like a man carrying the weight of an entire lifetime on his shoulders. That's what makes the character interesting. For most of the movie, you're not watching a hero. You're watching a man trying to make peace with who he has become. And that creates a very different experience from what most people expect from a Robin Hood film. Now, I should probably mention this. If you're expecting non-stop action, huge battles, and fast pacing, this movie may not be what you're looking for. It's much slower than traditional Robin Hood stories. The film spends a lot of time focusing on character moments, conversations, and emotions. Some viewers will love that. Others might find it a little too slow. And honestly, that's fair. Because this movie clearly isn't trying to please everyone. It knows exactly what it wants to be. And for better or worse, it sticks to that vision. Another thing I really liked is the atmosphere. The movie has a darker tone than most Robin Hood adaptations. The forests feel colder. The world feels older. And there's this constant feeling that something is coming to an end. You can almost feel it in every scene. The cinematography helps a lot here. There are several moments where the visuals do more storytelling than the dialogue. Sometimes a single shot tells you everything you need to know about how a character is feeling. And those are usually the moments that stay with you after the movie ends. The soundtrack also deserves some credit. Thankfully, it doesn't try too hard. A lot of modern movies make the mistake of telling the audience exactly how to feel. This film is more subtle. The music supports the scenes without overwhelming them. And because of that, the emotional moments feel more genuine. But here's where things get interesting. The movie isn't really about action. It isn't even about Robin Hood's adventures. At its core, it's about legacy. It's about looking back on your life and wondering whether you made the right choices. Whether the things you've done actually mattered, and whether people remember the real you or just the legend. That's the kind of question this movie keeps coming back to. And honestly, I think that's what separates it from previous versions of the character. Instead of focusing on the myth, it focuses on the man. Now, does everything work perfectly? Not really. There are definitely moments where the pacing feels a little too slow. A few scenes probably last longer than they need to. And there will be viewers who wish the movie had more action. I completely understand that criticism. Because when you hear the name Robin Hood, you naturally expect excitement and adventure. This film chooses a different path. Whether that works for you depends entirely on your expectations. If you're looking for a traditional Robin Hood movie, you might walk away disappointed. But if you're interested in a more emotional and character-driven story, there's a good chance you'll appreciate what the film is trying to do. And honestly, that's why I think this movie is worth talking about. Not because it's perfect. Not because it's groundbreaking. But because it's willing to take a familiar character and explore a side of him that we rarely get to see. By the end, The death of Robin Hood feels less like a fantasy adventure and more like a reflection on a life that is slowly coming to a close. It's thoughtful. It's emotional. And it's very different from what most people will expect. Overall, I think this is the kind of movie that will divide audiences. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to find it boring. And that's okay. Because the film isn't trying to be a crowd-pleasing blockbuster. It's trying to tell a more personal story. Whether it succeeds or not is something you'll have to decide for yourself. But one thing is certain. This isn't a Robin Hood movie you're likely to forget anytime soon. So that's my take on the death of Robin Hood. What do you think about this darker version of the character? Let me know in the comments.